Perfect. Well, we might get a start going on there. A few people are coming through now. Yeah, okay, we've got a few people through now. All right, well, we'll get started. Thanks for joining us all this afternoon, everyone. My name is Jono, and this is Kylene, and we're with C7. Those of you that have signed up or have been in our earlier sessions, welcome back. And those that are new to the sessions this afternoon, thanks for joining us. This session today and the other sessions that are on throughout the week are in response to Council's digital marketing audit process, where they were unpacking and learning about what was happening in region around digital marketing and to help provide support to businesses in region around digital marketing in particular. So we've put together a few various training modules, which some of you have responded to that you're coming to, and there's some others throughout the week. Today and tomorrow are online sessions, and then later in the week is face-to-face sessions in Malanda, Atherton and Ravenshoe. So if you're available for those, you would have seen the invite stat, and you're welcome to join us at those sessions too. Some of them may be a double up, so you may not want to do that. As I've mentioned, we're recording the sessions, so at the end of this will be provided to Council and they can share this with you guys at a later point. Our presentation this afternoon is actually going to be run by both Kylene and myself, outside of the ones this morning run by Kylene. So Kylene's going to be running the majority of the front half of this presentation, and I'll take over later on. So Kylene, I'll just sort of hand it over to you and we can get going.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Jono. All right, guys, well, we'll get cracking along. So as Jono said, we're going to go through a bit of an intro to digital marketing tactics this afternoon. So we're going to cover off basically a bit of a general overview of digital marketing tactics. So giving you guys some insight into the various digital marketing options and how best to identify which channel, which option, which tactic will marry up with your business goals and your objectives to achieve the most successful outcome. So we're going to go through what is digital marketing. We're going to look at setting goals and objectives to marry up with those, with what you're wanting to achieve. We're going to look at articulating your offering or your USPs, so your unique selling proposition. Now, for the guys that have joined us on the earlier sessions, you would have heard me refer to that previously. So we'll actually flesh that out, and we'll look at developing that in one of the activities. We're also going to look at understanding who you're targeting. So realizing and being able to articulate exactly who you guys are talking to when you're undertaking your promotional activities. We're going to look at the digital marketing funnel. Again, we're going to look at that diagram that we have looked at previously, just to help bring everything into context. We're going to look at the best channels, the best mix of channels, and then we're also going to look at evaluating techniques and what sort of tools we've got around measuring effectiveness, measuring success parameters, and looking at return on investment. So, thanks, John. So we're going to look at, so basically, what is digital marketing? So in a nutshell, it's an umbrella term for all of your online marketing efforts. So anything that lives in that digital space. So businesses leverage digital channels such as, so you've got Google search, you've got social media, EDM, email marketing, or your websites to connect with your current and your prospective customers. So from your website to your online assets like digital advertising, your e-newsletters, online brochures and beyond, there's a massive spectrum of tactics that you can consider and deploy with any given initiative that you've got. So digital platforms mean businesses now have absolutely myriad of ways and places and routes to attract new customers to visit, read, engage, and eventually, where we hope, they'll become a customer. They'll convert, make a sale, make a booking, pick the phone up, speak to you. So it's businesses' inbound marketing tactics that are at the heart of any digital marketing plan. So always keep that in mind, that you're optimizing for these when considering your digital marketing goals. So, thanks, Rory. So we need to look at the first step, basically, is what is the goal? So what is the objective? What are we trying to achieve? So it's critical to identify what these overarching, could be a business goal that's actually driving that marketing objective, so that we can then define a set of marketing goals to support them. So your business goal might be, at the onset, increasing revenue, opening a new store, establishing an online store. So it could be that you're only selling, face to face in an actual physical piece of real estate. You want to transition into the online world and sell 24/7. So when setting goals, it's critical to be as targeted as possible, so you can effectively measure the outcomes against what you set out to achieve. So again, this is where your SMART methodology comes into place. So for the guys that were on the last session, we actually worked through the SMART acronym. So being specific in what we want to achieve, being able to physically measure, so being able to put a number against that goal, ensuring that it's going to be achievable. So making sure that you've got the capacity to actually facilitate it, and you've also got the budget to back it. Ensuring that it's relevant. So making sure that it actually will tie in with what that business objective is, and timely. So setting a time frame at the point that you're going to draw a line in the sand and go, okay, at this point, we're going to pull up stumps and we're going to evaluate and look at what the return on investment of that initiative was. So the next step is to set marketing goals that align with these business goals. Now, examples of marketing goals include increased market penetration. So you could be selling from existing products, more existing products to an existing set of customers. So what are they buying now? What could they buy more of? Or market development. So you could be selling existing products to new targets. So marketing goals will help you define what you want to achieve through your marketing efforts.
Yeah, and I think, Kylie, one of the points that you raised here that's really key to stand out is that the goals are really probably one of the most crucial aspects up front that you can do when it comes to any sort of online or digital marketing activity. I think when we speak to some businesses and we ask them what they're doing in digital activity, they tell us what they're doing, but they can't explain why they're doing that particular activity. So by getting your goals set up front nice and early, it allows you to pick what digital activity you should be doing down the line. It really does connect quite heavily to what activity you will undertake further down.
Yeah, exactly, Jono. So really understanding why is it, why are you doing what you're doing? Okay, so one of these activities, one of these steps, which also ties in with your actual brand, which was one of our last workshops. And remember, if we've got anyone on the line with this particular workshop, and where I'm making references to the previous workshops, if you're wanting to gain access to those, both these presentations as well as the activity sheets, all of those resources will be available through the council for access. So don't feel that, you're going to have sort of gaps in your tools that you've got available to you. So articulating your offering. So some of you might have heard of a USP, otherwise known as a unique selling proposition, otherwise known as your elevator pitch. So this is essentially why your current customers buy from you and why new customers should buy from you. So components of your USP will come from your brand personality. They'll also come from your brand essence, which is something that we covered in the previous workshop. But in a nutshell, your USP is your elevator pitch. So it's a concise, consolidated overview of your business that you can easily and quickly communicate. So what we're going to do now is we're going to actually have a go at working through what your elevator pitch would be for your business. So this is the first one of the activity sheets that would have been attached on the email invite. So if we can all just take a couple of minutes and just work through, there's some tips actually on that particular worksheet. So we want to make sure that you use common language, so no jargon, no language or words that are going to alienate your potential customer. You want it to tell a story, but it's got to be a concise story. You want it to communicate the benefits. You want to convey your passion around what it is that you do and why you do it. And when you read it out loud and you can communicate it, you don't want it to be any longer than sort of 60 seconds or a minute. So some other tips would be, offer something a little bit different, providing exceptional service and be able to back this up. You could claim if you can, and again, you've got to be able to validate and substantiate what you're saying. The biggest, the best, the boldest in your industry. It could be that you've got a product which is completely unique in every way, or it could be that you've got a product that meets a unique need or fills a gap in the market. So there's, and again, this is around, this is sort of like the culmination, obviously, of that brand pyramid that we were working on in the last workshop. It's also, following on from doing your competitor analysis and identifying where those new opportunities are around your business as to what your niche is going to be. But just jotting down some ideas. And again, this is something that you can write, you can test. And again, always remember that your elevator pitch has got to communicate to someone that actually has never heard of your business before. So don't assume any preconceived knowledge. So just work through that. If anyone's got any questions or needs any help, just pop it in the chat or pop your hand up and we can give you a hand. But we'll just spend a couple of minutes just doing that now. How's everyone going with that? All good. We can come back at the end of the preso and just recap, or if you've got any questions. You want a bit more time on that one, Brenda?
sometimes you do find with this particular task that you might write one out and then you might come back and revisit it as you start to articulate it better. It can take a few goes to really work through your words and to figure out exactly what you should write.
Okay, so we'll move on to the targeting side of things. So this is about understanding exactly who you are talking to. So before we can really identify, we've got the business goal, we've identified what the marketing objective is to meet that goal. We'll look at channels down the track, but in order to actually identify what channel is going to be the best way to go to market, we need to understand who we're talking to start with. So you don't have to necessarily have a good grasp of who they are, what they want or what they need. You will, you'll fall short when creating content that's relevant to them. So we need to have our head around exactly these aspects. So the most straightforward approach to fine-tuning your target audience is understanding is to develop some customer personas. And what these are is they're fictionalized general descriptions of key customers or key groups of people that you're trying to attract as potential customers. So when we look at basically developing customer personas, we think about who your customers are and we try and group them into, say, 3 or 4 buckets effectively. And we take each of those and we create a character for each. So you can give them a name, you can add a photo, you can add a personality, you can add a few hobbies. So you can actually start to, really sort of go, okay, well, this is the person that we're actually talking to. This is what they're interested in. This is where they hang out. These are the social media channels that they visit. These are the social media groups that they're part of. These are the websites. These are the hobbies that they have. So we can start to identify, okay, well, where does our paid media need to be popping up to actually get in front of these people and have our product or service seen by them. So we've got another marketing sheet here as well, an activity sheet here, which is all around the buyer personas. So what I want you to do now is, and again, you might have already done this previously, but otherwise it's just a good exercise to constantly revisit. So you can look at this from your product or services perspective. You could look at, okay, who's my most, who do I get my most sales out of? What type of group of customer do I get the most of my sales out of? And then you might want to tier them basically by sales value. You could look at them from actual product categories. So that you could have a particular buyer persona that only is attracted to a particular type of product. So just take some time now and just start to sort of shape up sort of maybe 2 or 3 buyer personas that you can have in the back of your mind and stick up on the wall when you're looking at developing a strategy to know who you're actually talking to.
Good question, Deborah. So pain points in a persona could be for a particular audience group. You might think, what are some issues that they might have in accessing your product or service? So what are their pain points? So for some, you know, one of your personas could be based around a family, for example. And so say you've got a mother and a father and 3 kids. What would be a pain point for that family? For some people, it can be really expensive to take long distance holidays. That could be one of their pain points. So they're looking for fun, affordable, family-based activities to go and do. They might find access to activities a pain point for them. It's hard to get motivation to get out of the house. Or you might find that this particular person, a pain point for them is they don't have time. They're time poor. So how do you address maybe that particular persona? How do you make yourself and your business and your product or your service a bit more accessible, depending on who your target audience is? So the idea is it gives you a bit of a synopsis around who your customers are as your customer persona. And from that, you can then tailor what you're doing with your product towards that customer persona. Another thing that comes out with these customer personas is what you end up realizing too is a lot of businesses have a certain customer type that seems to come and shop from them, but they haven't categorized that type of customer before. So after you've done this, you might identify actually 60% of my customers are all in this similar sort of category, which gives you that insight that they're type of a persona that you want to try and advertise towards, or you'd like to attract more of those people back to your product or service. And that's where customer personas really come in handy. It gives you a bit more insight into understanding, well, these are the people who are currently using my service or product. If I had 50 more of them, I'd be really happy.
How you guys going? All right, we'll keep on moving on. So the next area when we're looking at tactics that we need to understand is how those buyer personas that we've identified fit within the various stages of the digital marketing funnel. So The different stages of the buyer journey as they work their way through these funnel lend themselves to certain types of digital marketing tactics. So we need to consider these various tactics, tools, and how they're important in turn to maximise the actual influence of the customer how much we can actually influence the customer at each of these different stages. Now, the reason that we want to influence the customer is we want to basically guide them through the buyer journey. We want to bring them in from the awareness through to the interest, down through their decision to the action point where they actually physically convert and become a customer and convert. So, for instance, we've got a few examples here. So the awareness stage or the exploration stage, sometimes is referred to, is where people are at that very entry level, top of the funnel, gathering information, gathering intel to help them make an educated decision around what they are wanting to purchase. So particular tactics or marketing tactics that are best suited to this awareness stage are content marketing, social media, so SEO, so search engine optimization, where it comes to enabling or ensuring that the content on your website is ranked positively from Google's perspective. Paid ads and public relations. So as we progress down, they then move into the interest stage of the buying journey. Get rid of that off my screen. So at this stage, they've started to delve deeper into their research. So it could be that they've seen a paid ad come up in their social feed. At that point, they've clicked through to a landing page, perhaps that you've got online, or it could be that they've clicked through from a some other sort of public relations article that's referenced an ebook that you've got up on offer that they could access. There could be a newsletter that's gone out to a database, or it could be that you've offered a free tool or a tip or top 5 tips for something. So it's also referred to at this stage as well that content that's developed to help facilitate this interest phase is often seen as helping. So YouTube obviously is really effective at this point as well, and there's definite types of content that you can craft to really meet the expectations of the buyer when they're at that particular stage. So we're starting to get down towards the pointy end now, where they're basically ready to make a decision. They're gathering all of this information, together. They've done their research. They've delved a little bit deeper into the particular types of content that you've got on offer. So they're starting to get a real feel for what it would potentially look like or be for them to become a customer of yours. So at this point, the tools that, from a marketer's perspective, they've got at their execution will be, a sales page, a promotions page, free trials, or perhaps a demo. So we're sort of letting them take that next step to commit, and we're giving them every opportunity to convert. Then we progress down into the action. So this basically is where, it's a done deal. We need to be able to facilitate a payment system. There's got to be a shopping cart. If we want them to buy online, there has to be an e-commerce capacity to your website. Or it could be that it's a different type of action or conversion as opposed to an actual physical sale value. We also start to look at reviews or referrals as an advocacy conversion as well. So they've actually gone through the process, they've become a customer, they're so thrilled with your product or service that they then, jumped back online and reconverted in the form of a star rating, a Google referral, that sort of thing. So does that all sort of make sense? These are obviously only some of the tools, but these are probably the most relevant associated to each of the stages of the buyer journey. All good? Okay, so we'll go into some of these other channels in a little bit more detail. So a business's marketing plan ideally takes on an integrated approach, and this is where you would have heard me mention before that we look at integrated marketing strategic plans, or we look at omni-channel marketing, which is basically not putting all your eggs in one basket. It's acknowledging that you've got a particular customer persona that you're trying to get your message in front of, and identifying that there's more than one way to do that. So this type of approach includes a combination of tactics and channels. And by doing this, the business ensures that they have every opportunity to influence the buyer journey, ensure they have multiple touch points along the way. So for example, this little diagram here just sort of splits the face-to-face tactics that a business may have in their toolbox versus the digital online tactics. And I thought this was a good way to just help sort of differentiate. And again, sometimes you can have a purely, digital execution to a campaign strategy, and other times you'll have, you'll still rely on some of those more traditional means. Sometimes you'll have a completely omni-channel approach. And sometimes these things can shift depending on, seasonality. There can be a different mix depending on customer personas. All of those sort of things come into play. But ultimately what you're doing is you're trying to get the right ingredients together to bake the cake that's going to give you the best outcome. So we'll go through some of these. So let's look at the online side of things. So obviously we've got social media, we've got webinars, we've got phone, video, Zoom calls, something like this. We've got online publications, so blogs are extremely powerful. Email, electronic direct mail, leveraging your database. We've got search, we've got online advertising, and then we've got groups. So it could be Facebook groups or online conferences or virtual conferences as such. So with our face-to-face tactics, so these obviously can more often, complement your digital tactics. You think things like networking, speaking at key events, meetings, print publications, your direct mail, your cold calls, your print advertising, and then it could be your events. So you may attend, trade shows or expos, that sort of thing. So, the next slide. So how do we go about identifying the best channels? So sometimes marketing channel selection can be a bit daunting, but this is where we come back to our buyer personas. So we're not trying to tick every single box or use every single tool that we've got available to us. We're trying to pick the best choices that will marry in and get our message in front of those buyer personas. So we know where these audiences seek out their information from. We know what they like and how they like to receive it. So with that in mind, we need to focus our efforts. And more often than not, most small businesses can really sort of kick off and get some really good traction with a strong social media strategy, rather than trying to spread their budget across, pay per click and and sponsorships and events, and spread themselves basically too thin with a relatively shoestring budget. So one of the main benefits of social media is that you can access insights with the click of a button to see how many people, your marketing has reached. It's very, very easy through, Facebook Insights, for instance. Bill's just late. It's very easy to quickly jump in and see how everything's tracking. So we'll take a look at a few other channels that are considered to be effective for most businesses as well. So within that digital space, obviously you've got search engine optimization, which again is around making sure that at the bare minimum, you've got adequate content on your website. You've got content that obviously is specific to the product or the service that you're offering. Social media, again, one of the most effective and probably one of the biggest bang for your buck as far as, deploying a strategy around promotion on that one. So your digital advertising, so your search engine marketing, which is like Google Ads, that sort of thing. Email marketing. So if you've got a relatively accurate, up-to-date database where you've got subscribed, customer base, that sort of thing, that you can actually go out and go back to market and stay in touch with them and try and bring them back into the fold and make a secondary purchase, then that's an asset there that's just sitting there waiting to be used. And then you've got things like traditional means, television, radio, print advertising, public relations. So again, that's another, fantastic way. If you've got a unique product, or you've got a product that is servicing a unique niche market, and it's something that, is newsworthy, then definitely, get look to a company where you can have a media release drawn up and have that distributed to see if you can get some PR exposure from it. So point of sale displays, SMS marketing is another one, very cost effective way, but again, as long as you've obviously got that database there to communicate to. And then you've got other traditional means like print catalogues, brochures, postcards, your website, and landing pages. So landing pages, as opposed to a website, we'll talk about a little bit more. I might actually hand over to Jono to run through this next section. But yeah, there's, in a nutshell, basically, there is a list as long as your arm when it comes to digital tactics. And it's not that you've got to do every one of them. It's really about identifying 2 or 3 at the most that you feel are going to be the best fit for who you're talking to. And it's not about doing X, Y, Z because Joe Blow is. It's about really understanding what's going to get your message in front of who you need to talk to the most effectively way. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Colleen.
Okay.
So to continue on, just a quick recap on what we've covered so far. When we went back to those initial setting the goals and objectives around what you were doing, and then we look at the personas, a lot of those tie heavily into what's on this slide and some of those formats that are available to you. So a good example is a business goal might be to reach as many people as you can in your local community. You want awareness, you want people to know what you're doing. And then the persona that you might have identified, they're heavy social media users. So if they're a heavy social media user and they're on Facebook, when it comes to identifying the best channel, the easiest way then to achieve that awareness and the best format would be social media. And that's a good place to start. So you can see by combining some of those worksheets that you're already working through, how that helps you identify the best channel and locations to be working in. One thing that does crop up for us that we talk about a bit, which is Google, and how do you know where you rank in Google, and how do you get to the top in Google, and how does Google figure it all out? A lot of people say it's just working it out in the cloud and how it goes. Now we'll sort of demystify a little bit what Google does and how it works, and there's probably 2 key phrases that you would have heard previously or been familiar with. One is SEO, which is search engine optimization. And the other is SEM, which is search engine marketing. So Google has 2 key avenues to allow websites or businesses to rank. And the way that it does that is the search engine results pages, which is an SERP. So that's another phrase. And we know digital is heavy with acronyms. There's probably more digital acronyms in this space of marketing than I think exists in any other form of marketing. It could just be marketers love making acronyms. That's probably why there's so many of them. But in this particular case, what we're focused on here is the search engine results page. And what that means is when someone searches for a particular item, and you would know through your own online searching habits, you type in a word into Google and you click search and results show up. The search engine results page is the results that Google determines to share based on the word that you typed in, the keyword that you entered into your search. So the 2 routes in which your website ranks and leads to people being able to see you on those results pages is first one is this SEO, the search engine optimization, which is how much content is on your website that talks about that keyword that Google can find. And as a result, it lists you on the search results. The next format, which is more direct, is SEM or search engine marketing. It allows you to pay against one of those search words, against one of those keywords, to have an ad appear at the top of the search results, which you can see there in the red circle. An ad is identified with the word ad next to it. And so what happens is if you create an ad around that keyword and you've got the best cost per click, so there's a few other acronyms and strategies that come into this, you get a good ad rank, and so your ad appears closer to the top of the search results. And the reason that this is important is that it's identified that not many people click past the second page of results in a Google search. They tend to stick with the first page of results. So ranking on the first page is critical in making sure that you get good exposure. So there's a few different strategies that stand out here to get your ad rank, which is the cost per click bid. So Google has a price range that they put on that word to allow you to rank on the first page. So the more money you spend on your cost per click, the higher your chance of your ad appearing at the top of the search results. The quality score, which are things like the click-through rate and the relevance, comes down to if you're advertising, and let's pick a service, fishing on Lake Tinaroo, and someone searched fishing Lake Tinaroo, and your website says fishing Lake Tinaroo, and the keyword you spent money on was fishing Lake Tinaroo, you would expect that you've got a really good cost per click and a really good quality score, and Google wants relevance to be really high in the mix. So if you had someone say searching for fishing Lake Tinaroo, but what you actually had as your search result was kayaking Lake Eacham, as you would see, both of those things are two different things. So you will spend more money to have your kayaking Lake Eacham business show up versus fishing Lake Tinaroo on that particular keyword. So there is a lot of relevance that goes on in the system here to figure out what are the best way to do it. The biggest strength that you've got here is that the opportunity to get your ad in front of eyeballs who are motivated and ready to purchase at that precise moment. What you find with Google is that when people are searching, they're ready to do something. The intent level's higher. So you find people that are searching Google are looking for more specific results, whereas people that are on social media are more in line to be browsing and killing time and having a look at things that might interest them at just an easygoing level. When we get to the Google, people are specifically trying to find information. It's a really good tool for people that might be comparing your service or your offering or your product against another competitor. It allows people to consider what you're doing and should drive them to make a conversion. If we look at what are post-click landing pages, so landing pages is probably another phrase that has come up, and people say, I've got a website, but what is a landing page and why would I need one? So a landing page, and this partly starts to touch a little bit from a tactical level around user experience. When you have done your own searching activity and you've searched for a product, if you've ever come across a page that you ended up going to, but you exited the page very quickly because the page didn't make much sense to what you'd searched for, you'll start to understand why there's an importance towards a landing page. So a website is an online presence that covers pretty much everything you do in your business. It could cover who you are, what you do. You might have 50 categories of products. You might have 10 different services. But your homepage, when someone visits that, it covers nearly all of those topics. It doesn't really niche down and talk about a specific topic. A landing page is a specific topic page that links directly to your advertising. So if we go back to the fishing Lake Tinaroo example, as who doesn't like fishing on Lake Tinaroo, if we go to that example, if you click on a fishing Lake Tinaroo ad and it takes you to a landing page that says, come fishing with us on Lake Tinaroo, purchase your tickets right now. There's no navigation on that page. It just tells you that we're in for fishing on Lake Tinaroo. Here's a price and you can book a date. You've made a really clear-cut relevance to your target audience, and as a result, they're more inclined to fill in your form. If you took them to a page that had Lake Tinaroo and surrounds activities, but fishing was buried in the navigation and it was really hard to find, what you might find is that the amount of people that you've paid to get to your website, you're losing some of those people because they're finding it hard to navigate to your specific content as to what they're searching for. So a landing page creates a very clear, one-minded goal and proposition to convert a visitor on an offer. So when they click to that landing page from a promotional link, it's because they're considering claiming the offer you have advertised. It's a really effective format to make sure that you're in control of your digital marketing when you go to market. It can be a little bit different if you've got e-commerce and say you're selling kitchenware and you might have 50 products in the kitchenware category. You might be selling particular offers or sale promotional periods. You might be doing 10% off or something similar to that you're advertising. If we move on to identifying the best channels and going into that a little bit further, what we'll do is we'll sort of unpack this funnel again a little bit more. We've already had a little bit of the funnel pop up, and the marketing funnel here that we're looking at is really trying to work us through that we're maximizing what we're doing in digital marketing, that you know that you're doing a particular activity because you've gone through this funnel. So the first part, which we've worked on in particular, is the planning part, which is defining your goals and strategy. And defining your goals and strategy really allows you to pick which channel you should be deploying on, why you're on that channel, and what you might get out of it. Some people might say that they want to be known online as the biggest expert in a particular field or topic that generates them sales. So they might do a lot of online videos through YouTube and social media. That could be a very effective plan for people, would be to be the most sought after knowledgeable resource on this topic. The second part here is the reach, which is how do you grow your audience using paid, owned and earned media. And if you were with us on an earlier session, you would have seen the variance between paid, owned and earned media. So at this stage, looking at the buyer stage, we're in the exploration stage. So if you also look at this funnel and think about how you make a purchasing decision, I think when people go to buy a car, it's a fairly big purchasing process. And what do you do when you go to buy a car? Physically, you may go to a car dealership and walk around the car dealership. Online, you might browse different models. You might try and look at, what size car am I looking for? And you might do a lot of research. Your buy stage is you're exploring what you want to do and how to go about it. You're exploring maybe your budget range. You're exploring what models, the type of vehicle that you're after, and you're trying to do that. So from a digital marketing perspective, how does a car dealership advertise to you? They may have things around organic and paid search and social media, PR, display and influencer marketing, talking about we have a wide range of vehicles and multiple price points. Come in and have a chat with us today. So their proposition could be to help you explore, help you to understand. Key measures to know that that part of the funnel is working in your digital activity is the audience volume. How much of your audience is actually seeing your advertising? What is the quality of your audience? Does your audience see your ad and then disappear, or do they click and go to your landing page? And how much did it cost? What is the value of it? Was it a very expensive journey to get one person to contact you, or was it quite quick? When we get to part 3, the action stage, which is where we're prompting interactions or subscribers or leads, we're in a decision-making sort of process here. So what we're looking is, it's worth finding a clear persona customer journey and a content hub that is relevant. It could be inspirational, useful, and creates leads. So a lead at this point could be, hey, I'm interested in working with you to make a purchase, but they've given you their name, their phone number, and their email. So you've actually got someone that's moving further along and nearly ready to make a decision to do something. So the way that you would check that and to measure that is you're getting leads. And so you'd measure that with a conversion rate. So a conversion rate could be, out of 100 people that visited my landing page, I got 15 of them filled in the form for me to contact them. So you've got a 15% conversion rate. You might look at things like the time on site. So how long did someone go on your website or your landing page for? How long were they there? If they were there for 5 seconds, did they have a chance in 5 seconds to read all of the information that you had on your site? But if they were there for 3 minutes, did they get through most of the content? And what is the best way to go with that? You might look at subscribers, likes and shares. If your strategy and your plan was around becoming the most online resource of knowledge on a particular topic, you might be looking for people to subscribe to you so that you can keep in touch with them. You're building your content database, you're building out that email database. So a subscriber is a strong conversion point for what you're measuring with your tactic. When we get to 4, we're talking about a conversion, and the conversion is actually the process of a sale. A lot of the times you might hear conversion referred to as the lead, where you might get an email inquiry. That's what we call the lead and the conversion rate that's there. But the real conversion is where someone purchases your product or purchases your service, which is the ultimate activity that you're trying to achieve. You wouldn't be investing all the time into your digital marketing strategy and plan if you weren't hoping to get some sort of return out of it. So what you're looking there is the buyer stage is they're ready to purchase. So with a car, normally that would happen at a dealership, but it's becoming more and more often that people are purchasing models online and getting ready to just pick the car up at a dealership, for example, versus always going in to purchase directly at a dealership. So things here, marketing automation and retargeting. So if someone has visited one of your ads and then they've left your landing page and didn't make an action, you can repeat that ad back to them multiple times because they've visited before. So the frequency of your ad can increase back to that audience to keep them re-engaged and to try to get them to make that final purchase. You might have brand trust and value drives conversion. So value, you might create a package at the end to get the conversion, purchase now to receive 10% off. Not everything has to be incentivized, but we do know that in digital marketing, incentives do help to get that final point of conversion of sale, especially if you have a particular product that is very common in market and you have a lot of competitors. Things that you're measuring there is sales. How many on and offline influence sales do you have? Did you see a change in the revenue and profit of your business? And what was the conversion and or the order value? So for example, someone that may purchase a weekend activity that may cost a couple of $100, you might expect a higher volume of that versus someone that might spend $30,000 on a car, for example, which is a bigger purchase with a bigger sales point. So for you, your plan and strategy might say, I have a very high value product. I'm comfortable that if I spend this money in digital activity, that I receive 10 people purchasing the product from me for that sort of money. That could be part of your plan and your strategy. For others, it could be I need 100 sales for the same amount of spend, but their purchase price is a lot lower. So part of your strategy and your plan can take that into consideration. Now, I think the most ultimate stage in digital activity that can be overlooked at the onset, and it doesn't typically make up part of people's plans originally, is this bottom part at 0.5, which is the engagement, which is repeat business. The easiest customer to make a sale with is a customer that's already purchased with you before. So the buyer stage here is advocacy, and advocacy is a very good word to play around with in your digital marketing. The reason for that is when you think about advocacy, when you're an advocate for something, what is the type of activity that you would normally undertake? An advocate will talk about what you're doing. They will tell their friends about what you're doing. They may share your information online, and they become one of your best salespeople that you could have possibly found. Creating an advocate because of the process and the product, the quality and the experience, all of those things help someone say, I really enjoyed this process, I love that product or service, and I want to tell people about it. They are pretty much a thrilled customer, and they're key right now to social media marketing and social proof, repeat sales and referral. Testimonials go a long way, but when you have someone that shares on their Facebook page and with their friends, hey, check out this website and look at this product, it's absolutely fantastic. All my friends, you should go buy this. You know that a referral is one of the best endorsements that you can get. On top of that, it allows you to then horizontally change your product offering to those people. So you may have sold them on one of your products, but with digital marketing, you can now advertise to them a different product that's similar and see if they will purchase that as well. Or if your particular business model is around a service or providing an experience in region, you might offer them, hey, thanks for coming and spending this experience with us. Here's a 10% coupon for a referral to share with one of your friends. So they may send that to their friends and say, we did this great experience. You can do it now and get 10% off because I went and did it. So we find that there's some really good strategies that you can put in your plan around, if I win one customer, how do I turn that customer into more customers? Some of the measures that you really stand out here is the repeat purchase, the lifetime value. So they may have come in at a $200 purchase, but over the lifetime of their value of shopping with you, they could have spent up to $5,000. Brand satisfaction and loyalty. They could be absolutely proud that they love your brand. Some people are very crazy about the brands. You see it a lot in the clothing industry. Some people, what sort of brand do they wear and why do they wear it? And they become advocates for that particular brand. And then advocacy, the ultimate, that they will talk and share and communicate that out with you. So identifying the best channels, continuing, it's not an exhaustive list by any means. There are so many different new tactics online. You probably would have heard around things like TikTok and different channels and all this sort of stuff. There will always be new and emerging ways in which to do this. I think the key is that not to be overwhelmed is that you want to ensure that you're spending your time, your effort and money on the most impactful channels and tactics. So you always keep your audience front of mind when selecting channels, which was partly that goal setting and setting out the personas and identifying who is that customer, who is your audience and what do they do. That helps you identify where you should go. So you should ask yourself questions about whether your audience would use that channel before you investigate it. You should seek information from the channels themselves around their demographic data, their geographic or target locations. What you tend to find is a lot of these channels can tell you in this particular region, most of our people that are on our channels are interested in lifestyle activities, which helps you understand, okay, that's a good channel if I'm trying to do something that's a lifestyle activity. And that's quite handy. We do have another activity sheet that you guys will have here, which is the existing and new channels. And I might just give you guys an opportunity to work your way through some of that as you've got it there. I'll just open it up in front of me as well here, and I can talk you through what some of those new and existing channels might be. So the first question on there is to write down the digital marketing channels you currently use. And if you don't use any currently, what channels do you think would be a good fit for your business? So I'll give everyone a bit of time there. Don't hesitate to jump in and ask a question if you do have any at this point. Then from the early activity that we did where you were talking about the customer personas, which of your customer personas will you be targeting through these channels? And then you may have been thinking around what channels should you be using. So the third question there to ponder is what other digital marketing channels would you like to adopt and why? And I think the emphasis on why is quite important, as the digital tactic part here is to try and unpack what channel you're using, what impact it has with your target audience and why you should be using it. The why is a really good question to ask when you're implementing a digital channel. I'll give you guys a few minutes on that one. Like I said, raise a hand, type a message, or just jump on and ask a question if anyone has any questions. How's everyone going there? Does anyone need a bit more time? No worries. We'll keep on moving through. One of the great things about digital, which is probably the starting point for people why they started, is that you're able to evaluate the effectiveness and the return on investment. Evaluation in marketing has been something that is continually evolving and emerging, and digital marketing has really opened up what that looks like. You're able to get real-time data and you're able to see what your advertising is doing and how effective it's been based on the platform and the information that it shares with you. So now that you've considered your goals, your SMART principles, and you've looked at relevant channels, it's important to break them down into specific actions, the timeframes and associated budgets to help you achieve them. It's important to review your goals as you progress, as you might find that you need to refine them based on the performance and ROI. So those data insights might tell you that it's not performing very well and you're not getting much of a return on investment, which means you should probably change that activity. When setting marketing budgets, the general rule is to allocate around 3 to 5% of your annual turnover. There are businesses out there that run up to 10% of their annual turnover in marketing activity. That's not just in digital, that could be above the line in print and TV and radio. It could be a combination of things. But yeah, there's probably a good balance between how much you're spending and how much return you're receiving. At the end of the day, you really have to spend money to build a profile, and your marketing budget may need to include website development, hosting and maintenance, digital and traditional advertising, branded promotional materials, and even sponsorships. It does seem like at times there can be a really big list as to what you need out there, but if you go back to those goals and your SMART principles, you'll have a bit of an idea as to where to start and where you should be investing your money to get that return on investment. You should definitely be leveraging the reporting and insights across all digital platforms to measure your results and refine your efforts. And these platforms, they're quite consistent with the type of reporting that they do present. Google can tell you how many people clicked your ad. They can tell you how much that click costs. They can tell you how long people stayed on your website, and they can tell you if that person converted, which you will also know if someone's made a purchase or you've received an email. There's a lot of information that's at your fingertips to help you guide what you're doing that should come into your digital marketing tactics. We'll just have a little bit of a look here at a couple of these, just to highlight in a little bit more detail what that looks like. So if we talk about the platform, and the platform to start with right now is your website. And your website is one of the biggest digital marketing investments that people make up front. It's making sure that your presence looks great online to begin with. So what you should do monitoring for that is to set aside a regular time each week to analyze and generate reports assessing how your website is performing. There are many options to help you monitor traffic to your website, such as Google Analytics. This is free and very easy to set up. And below are some of the statistics you should analyze on a regular basis. So we have the volume of traffic to your website, and if users are new or returning. So Google Analytics will tell you if this is a new person that's coming to your website, or if it's someone that's visiting your website for a second time, if they're a repeat visitor. They can tell you how long users stay on your site. You may have heard of the word bounce rate, which is how quickly someone leaves your site. So it's often shared in a percentage format to say people that have stayed on your site less than 10 seconds would be called a bounce off your website. And I think the average for most websites of a bounce rate that you're looking for from advertising is around that 60% mark. Which pages are the most popular? So it'll tell you out of all of your website, these 3 pages on your website have 95% of your traffic, which you could spend more time on the content on those pages. You can tell at what time people visit or the days on which they visit, what specific times of days. The source of the traffic, so it can tell you whether it's come from search engines or social media or from the paid advertising that you've done. The routes users take to reach your site and the devices they use, so it can tell you if people are on desktop or on their mobile or on a tablet. Your customer conversion rate, so how many sales, how many downloads, how many blog reads, how many forms were filled out. It gives you a number on the conversion rate. Entry pages, which is the pages people are entering your site from. So not all the time do people come into your website through the homepage. If you write blog content, they may have come to your website through the blog. So one of your blog posts might be really popular, and that would be the entry page for the people that are visiting. And then you have the exit pages, which tells you out of all the pages that you've got on your website, where do people get to before they leave your website? So you get a bit of insight as to what is the persona, what is that person doing when they're visiting your site. If we talk about social media and online marketing, there are many options to monitor on social media results. There's plenty of tools available to help determine your most popular posts, how often people interact with you, the demographics of your audience, the number of people who subscribe, and the number of links clicked in e-newsletters. The key is to set up regular monitoring systems and act on the results. There is no point continuing to do something if it's not effective. Some common online marketing monitoring tools include Facebook Insights, YouTube Insights, and YouTube Analytics, Pinterest Analytics, and Google AdWords. And these are the platforms that you would do some advertising through, so they have their own way in which they report that. There are a couple of things in those to be aware of. On social media, engagement is how many people have taken a minute to maybe look at what you've posted. But it may not mean that they've actually clicked on your ad or that they've come through to your website and made a conversion. So it's important to note that when you look at some of those platforms that you understand what each of the metrics are telling you to do. If people have questions about that, more than happy to take an email or to hear what some of those might be. A note on Google My Business listings, and for a lot of businesses, this can be a very easy gap that people might have that can be rectified quite quickly. Google My Business listing is a listing that Google has of your business that can live in the search results and can also live in the mapping features of Google, and it's absolutely free to set up. Google loves having businesses listed in their search results and having them listed on their maps as their points of interest. You can set up a Google My Business listing by either typing into Google My Business set up my listing, or you might find that your business is already listed, but it's not there, it's not your business yet. So over here you can see it says own this business. You can click that and claim the business listing. So that point there, ensure your Google My Business listing has been claimed and is current and up to date. When you claim it, you can verify it, you can add photos, you can add your opening and closing times, you can put in your phone number, you can put in the address. The other great thing with it is that it allows people to give you reviews on your business, and you can see if you get 5-star reviews, your business looks quite well when people are searching for it. You can have image that relates to each of your campaigns. You can have information that's consistent with your website, and you can ensure that the avatar image, which is the image in the top right, where you can see the number 4, is with your logo for brand consistency. So when people are searching, they can clearly, easily identify what that looks like. And we're sort of wrapping up here onto our last slide. I guess it's remembered to important that digital efforts are not a set and forget activity. The fact that you can continuously optimize, test, measure, analyze, and deploy is one of digital marketing's strongest assets your business can leverage. I think the goal here is that if you're setting up digital activity and you want to walk away from it, digital changes quite rapidly. Results change, keywords change, platforms are evolving on a day-to-day basis. So the idea is that if you're investing the time into it, that you adapt and you roll with it as the platforms are emerging and changing as well. Does anyone have any questions at any point? Anything in particular from anyone? No, nothing at this point. No worries. Well, I thank everyone for coming out today. To those people that have been with us through all 3 sessions today, thank you for coming out. Thanks, Ralph. Thanks for the feedback. Thanks for joining us for 3 of those sessions. You guys have done well to do that online all day. This session will be available by Council with the presentation and the download sheets as well. And Council will be putting those out through their website coming up. We'll be sharing this information with them to do that. There are some sessions on tomorrow. If you've RSVP'd, we'll see you in those sessions. And if you are available and you're attending a session later in the week in person, you'll see me at those sessions. We have sessions in Malanda, Atherton and Ravenshoe. So we really appreciate you guys coming out. Thanks, Deborah. And look forward to catching up with you all again soon. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks.
No worries.